And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Troy, you all excited to pack your bags and go to the Combine? Maybe go to St. Elmo's and get a big bowl of shrimp?
Yeah, listen, I like the Combine. I've gone, I think this will be 9 straight years.
Yep.
I'm only staying for a few days. So, I'm not the guy that's there for a week. That would be a little much. And it's not as fun as it was even 9 years ago where you could really walk around and talk to anyone. But I like it. It's kind of cool and it's really, you're around so many football people. It reminds me of my days of covering baseball, Eric, where you go to the winter meetings and there's just a constant flow of information. There's very little of that in the NFL.
Right.
The one place that it really happens is at the Combine.
Before we get the show started, I want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions. For over 50 years, a week from today, Planet Open Box is having an auction for factory return home goods, electronics, and general merchandise. Bidding is started at rollerauction.com. They have a lot of great auctions coming up, so go check out the website and see what interests you, because it really does have something for everyone. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
So now it is a sprint to the finish as the Nuggets start what technically would be the second half of the season, although there's only 27 games to play. 17 of those 27 games are against teams that are better than 500 with their record and currently are all playoff teams. This includes 3 games against OKC and 3 games against the Spurs. So, Troy, do you think the Nuggets have the ability to flip the switch defensively and play better in this stretch run? Or do you think the only way they can even improve even slightly defensively is if they have Gordon and Watson back in the lineup?
Yeah, my belief is we're not going to see a significant difference until Gordon comes back. It's my understanding from yesterday. He's doing some light practicing. I've always said he should be back around first week of March, it depends. Again, they could slow play this. But until Gordon and Watson come back, they're not going to get significantly better. But they do have to make some adjustments, especially even late in game. Let's say they're not playing great. They got to play better the last 2-3 minutes of games. You can't be trading baskets all the time, especially because the Nuggets aren't particularly good in the clutch this year for whatever reason. Missed shots mainly, poor execution. But it's just something we have to keep an eye on. We got to keep an eye on. And I'm going to throw something out there. I know we have other topics about this, but Eric, we keep talking about OKC. If you don't win the title this year, if you're the Nuggets, are you sure that the Spurs aren't going to go on a run?
Right.
Victor's the best player in the future. He's the future of the NBA.
Yeah.
And you give him another year, are you suddenly going to – I just don't think after this year OKC is going to be your problem. I think it's going to be San Antonio. That's why this year, man, you got a chance to maybe sneak in one, because It would be a complete disappointment if they only win one with Jokic. But again, they won one, but it would be a disappointment if they don't win another one.
Wembanyama is like a 17-year-old Superman. He just will keep getting stronger and more powerful as he gets older. And I'm not suggesting that Jokic's run for MVP will be over after this season, whether he wins it or not. But Wembanyama is just such a dominant player on both sides of the floor. For as great as Jokic is, Wembanyama is just a different cat.
Well, even Jokic had him autograph his All-Star jersey and put an alien on it. He made him draw in an alien figure, because that's what he refers to him as. Where all of us call Jokic a unicorn and how he plays the game, he sees the other guy as an alien. That should scare you if you're Nuggets Nation, that, holy smokes, if we don't get it done this year, is it really going to be easier next year? And Gordon's a year older. And, again, Watson, maybe you keep him and you trade. But anyway, I just think you got to try to make a real run here in this window. There has to be urgency, almost similar to when Adelman took over those final 3 games last year. Like almost that kind of urgency down the stretch here.
I know we are projecting out here, but let's just, for the sake of this conversation, make the assumption that their top 8 guys are healthy.
Okay.
And they go 8 to 11 deep, really. But let's say it's their top 8 are healthy. Defensively, How good can this team be? And do you look at them as the favorites? Do you look at them as still second tier? How do you view them defensively as they would head into the playoffs if their key guys are healthy?
If healthy, they would be number 2 odds to OKC still. I mean, again, the Spurs are only like 3 games back from OKC. Correct. So it's not, and they've really played well against the Thunder. So
well, they've more than played well. They've beaten them.
Yeah, 4 out of 5, I think, or whatever it is. So the Nuggets have games coming up against OKC, and they got games against the Spurs. We're going to get a better feel. They should, if healthy, enter the playoffs as the number 2 best team in the West. And I would say they'd be a middle-of-the-pack defensive team. In their championship year, you could win the way they play offense. They're the best, or at least most efficient offensive team in the league per possession. The way they play offense, they can win a title if they're a middle-of-the-pack functional defensive team. They can't be the best offensive team and nearly the worst defensive team. That won't get you to the finals.
So looking at the injuries right now, only 2 guys are out, and it is Gordon and it is Watson. Looking at their schedule, which is difficult, 3 against the Spurs, 3 against OKC, couple against the Lakers. They still have to play Boston again. Do you think they even hold on to that number 3 seed?
I have my doubts.
Yeah,
especially if Gordon doesn't come back to, let's say they slow play it and he comes back like April 1st. I don't think that would be the case. Yeah. But if he's out for another month, then I don't think they can hold on to it. I really don't.
Well, and I look at it this way. They might be able to win their first round game, but in the second round, assuming OKC advances and the Spurs advance, it's going to be a second round matchup against one of those 2 teams.
Right. And I mean, again, you would give them give them a shot, obviously. And then they match up as well against the Thunder as anyone. But again, that would be, Gordon's got to be healthy. He's got to be healthy. And you would be, obviously, then you wouldn't have home court advantage. So you're going to have to steal one on the road at some point.
Well, no, that's okay. I mean, look at the way they play at home and on the road.
Yeah.
Listen, they have more home games. I think they have 15 home games and 12 games on the road. You can make the case with the way they played at home. You wish it was flipped.
Yeah, they got to get that fixed, because in the playoffs, you need to know, like, we feel great about being home, and they've been barely a 500 team at home, and they're tied for the most wins on the road in the NBA. That's a good thing to have, and it shows you resilience, and the guys come together. It's harder to do that in the playoffs. We all understand that. But to your point, I was talking to some people last night. I was at that ABA premiere for Soul Power at the C Theater, and just talking about the Nuggets, and man, matchups are going to matter. And you just brought it up, Eric. If you fall out of the 2, now all of a sudden that second round matchup, which has been really difficult for them the last few years, becomes problematic again. And that would stink. I want to see them get to the Western Conference Finals healthy, with a chant like, here we go, title bout, lace up the gloves, let's go, instead of, oh my God, 5 guys are out, and if everything goes, it's like, I don't, because again, with OKC and the Spurs and their youth, they're more likely to be healthy, so you have to be relatively a semblance of your real roster to beat them.
Generally speaking, when a guy comes back from injury, he is not going to be 100%.
Right.
He's probably 80%, at best 90%, but he can play. He can not only be functional, but he can still be very, very good. You're just always worried about, somebody aggravating that injury. You just pointed out that Gordon might get back first week in March, something like that. Considering he is likely one of the keys outside of Jokic and Murray, which would make him number 3, with that, would you hold him out even longer to try and get him closer to 100%, even if he could play, because he plays such a vital role on this team defensively?
I understand where you're going. I would just manage it more smartly than they did, and more wisely than they did last time. Last time, they played him on a back-to-back after a 32-minute log. He goes against Milwaukee on a back-to-back. I don't think he was ready for that. They said he was cleared. So I want him to come back. I want him to start integrating himself, but just maybe he plays and then he rests the game. Maybe he plays half a game, half a game, half a game, whatever that is. And if the number's 20 minutes, it's got to be 20 minutes. It can't be like when Jokic came back, oh, he's on a 30-minute restriction, and here we are in New York, and he's at 44. Well, it'd have been worse if he sat down and got back up. No, you have a minutes restriction for a reason. And so when Gordon comes back, and that's on Adelman and the training staff, you got to be mindful of it. I can't be worried about, we got to win this game against OKC, and now his hamstring's hurt again. And is he going to be ready for the playoffs? Have a plan and follow it. But I don't want to wait forever to bring him back, because I think then he gets rusty and then it's harder to integrate. But integrate him wisely. And I just think they wanted to win, meaning Adelman against Milwaukee that night, and he got greedy and he overplayed him. And he can say the trainers cleared him, but it was just so unnecessary. So just be smarter about it.
What I'm wondering is, eventually Gordon and Watson are going to come back. How much time is Adelman going to need to not so much integrate them back into the lineup, but really, has he even really played have the Nuggets even played with a full roster this season? I mean, how much time is that really going to take? Because you have a lot of guys who can play. And how are you going to figure out your line combinations? Or at the end of the day, line combinations, I'm making it sound like hockey. How are you going to figure out your rotations on who to play at certain times if you really haven't had a chance to do it all year?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because they were briefly healthy at the beginning of the season, but Peyton Watson wasn't this version of Peyton Watson.
Correct.
So that's another X factor, is like, well, they did it early. Yeah, but you weren't worried about getting Peyton Watson specific minutes because he wasn't seen as an offensive threat. Now he is. And how does that look? And I think you're going to have to move around the parts, and Adelman's good about this, Eric, and figure out what works best. And it may sacrifice a game or two that you had a guy late where you're like, okay, now, you know what? This is going to be more matchup dependent. On nights we need a little more offense, maybe Watson plays more than Johnson, or if it's a specific matchup, Johnson. My feeling is those are the two whose playing time could really fluctuate. Where one night Watson's at 34, and the next night he's at 21, depending on matchups. That's hard, but you're going to have to get guys to buy into that.
But what do you mean? But Watson and Cam Johnson, you can make the case, are similar style players. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, Watson's more explosive offensively for me, but yeah.
But and defensively as well, they're both plus defenders, and they play the same position. Or you could make the case they would play the same position, even though you can bounce them around a little bit between a 4 and a 2 and, whatever it is. They're more threes. My point in this is Peyton Watson should be getting the majority of the minutes. I don't know why Peyton Watson would not be. He has not only earned it, but that leads me into something else. Cam Johnson, according to multiple reports, is going to be a potential trade candidate. And he should be, having nothing to do with him, having everything to do with the emergence of Peyton Watson, who is only 23 years old, and you want to keep this guy around with a long-term deal.
Yeah, the difference of these two players, if Watson looks like himself when he comes back, and it's a hamstring, he's not coming off a major knee injury or Achilles. If he looks like himself, he's able to create his own shot off the dribble. And that is
Cam Johnson can do that as well. That's one reason why they brought him in.
But not like Watson looked. Like Johnson has really been tentative. At times you see it. I'm not saying he hasn't done it. He just really hasn't done it here. His use here has mainly been spot up shooter. As Jokic creates, a double team, or Jamal creates a double team, it's just, can Cam get hot? Well, they really have Hardaway for that. He's become the spot up guy.
I'll tell you what Cam Johnson has done, unfortunately. When he was with the Nets, he was able to create his own shot.
100%.
And when he came over here, when the trade for Michael Porter Jr. happened, what people said, including me, and I still believe it to this day, Cam Johnson can create his shot much better than Michael Porter Jr. And he's a better defensive player than Michael Porter Jr. So this makes sense. Take away, freeing up more money to bring in Hardaway and Valanciunas and so on and so forth. But Cam Johnson, in some ways, while he is better defensively, has become an offensive clone of Michael Porter Jr., who stands in the corner but is not as efficient shooting the ball from three.
Right. He's become, when I watched him, he's so unselfish. He's such a good team guy, but it made him so passive that he became MPJ. Wait and sit in the corner and wait for a kick out. And they need a little more than that. And I think over time that would have developed, except wait, Watson took it from him. Watson's like, I'm going to show you. Because that nobody thought that Watson could create off the dribble this way. Because if he's just a spot up shooter, there's value in that. We've seen it with MPJ and others, but you can find that guy. The number of guys in the NBA that can create off the dribble, get to the line consistently, those are the next tier player. That's what Watson's been for the better part of this last 6 weeks or whatever it was before the injury. So it's going to be interesting how they manage that. And when you talk about the offseason, making him a trade candidate, it would stink because he kind of did everything you asked. It's just you have a young player who just got really good really fast and right before our eyes. Because obviously, if they would have known this was Watson, they still would have traded MPJ. I'm convinced of that. Just he needed to get rid of that contract. But it wouldn't have been to try maybe for a Cam Johnson. I mean, maybe a different need because you had Watson here. And if they say they knew Watson was going to do that, that's obviously not true because they would have extended him. And they didn't.
If they knew Watson was Watson, he would have gotten the contract and Christian Brown would not.
Yeah, it might have been one or the other. And so, again, there's so many pieces to like about this team. It all goes through Jokic, who's unselfish. There's all these things. And Jamal is playing by far his best season. And this, he's playoff Jamal. Well, he hasn't been playoff Jamal the last couple of years. So I'm hoping if he's been playoff Jamal in this regular season. If he carries it through, like there's so many reasons to like him. It's fascinating with Adelman, first full season. How does he make this fit? Because these guys have all said, oh, no egos. It's team. Whoever's the best that night. He's really, really going to get challenged with that. It was really easy to do that last year during the playoffs when you're only playing 6 guys. The only one that was kind of be a pain in the ass was Westbrook.
Here was the thing about MPJ, and this was part of his frustration. But I understand why the Nuggets did what they did because they were always worried about injuries with Michael Porter Jr. I'm not saying they basically told him to stand in the corner, but they basically told him to stand in the corner. They did not want him that much driving to the hole. They limited him in what they wanted him to do. And what puzzles me is they bring in Cam Johnson knowing he's really good off the dribble. And I can't imagine Adelman said to Cam Johnson what Michael Malone was saying to Michael Porter Jr. So I'm wondering why this isn't happening for Cam Johnson.
I just think he got tentative early. He wasn't shooting well. Right. And you're the new guy and you just kind of slowly go back to the Simpsons meme where you slowly back into the bushes. Yeah, like it's just like, okay, I got to figure out where I fit here. And I look around and Jokic and Murray. And he just looked like he's so eager to not rock the boat that he forgot to, you got to be aggressive. Right. Like it's one thing to fit in, but there's that fine line of being too passive.
Yeah.
And maybe we come back from the break and they kind of all like, okay, Cam Watson's going to be out another 2 weeks or whatever, 3. Go get it. Let's see what it looks like. And then you have to just make choices between those two. And maybe one plays with the second team and one, I don't know. I mean, it's just hard because we get into these hypotheticals.
Yeah.
If they're both being aggressive offensively, that's the best scenario. Yeah. If one of them's not, then it's going to come down to matchup dependent. Do you need Watson scoring or you need more consistent defense? Like you're just going to have to be a little bit matchup dependent, almost like baseball.
Since Jokic has become Jokic, I know they've had third scoring options, fourth scoring options at any night. You could have, I don't know, Aaron Gordon score 20, Christian Brown score 20. But when I look at Peyton Watson, They literally have 3 legitimate, consistent scoring threats. For Aaron Gordon, yes, he could score 20 for sure, but it wasn't consistent. Christian Brown wasn't consistent, but he could. Peyton Watson has become a consistent 20-point scorer. And now they have 3 legitimate options with a guy who still plays excellent defense as well. What I'm wondering is, I don't think he will ever be as good as Jokic. But the question is, could Peyton Watson be as good as Jamal Murray?
This year or in the future?
In the future, as they look to potentially sign him to a new deal, which would mean they would have to trade Cam Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I could 100% see the scenario where they trade Cam to try to re-sign Watson. You just have to really know what Watson wants, because the last thing you want to do is trade Cam and then not sign Watson, because then you're in a worse spot.
Well, it's like in college, drop and add. Make sure you add before you drop.
Right. Get him signed first, boys. I don't know that he would be Murray because he doesn't handle the ball that well. He still has issues handling the ball in terms of being – that player. Like Murray is a top 15 player now. Watson's not there yet. But,
Murray, though, is a shooting guard. He is not a point guard. But the reason why.
But he still averages like 6-7 assists a game.
I understand.
He still passes. And he's been a point guard when Jokic was out, if you watch the games.
But
he was a true point guard.
Look at the Olympics when he played for Team Canada. Here's the thing to me about Jamal Murray. He is more of a shooting guard than he is a point guard. And by the way, with the Nuggets, he doesn't handle the ball all the time. You see a bunch of guys handling the ball. Gordon handles the ball, bring it up the floor. Jokic brings it up the floor. Jamal Murray is a shooting guard. He is not a point guard.
Well, he's a point guard when Jokic isn't there. Their point guard is Jokic. He's the point center. So, but you saw, I just want to give Jamal credit. When Jokic was out those 16 games, that's the best he's passed, and he looked like a true point guard.
What I'm saying about Jamal Murray is this. He is more of a shooting guard than a point guard, but he is misplaced out there if he's not handling the ball, because he has to have the ball in his hands. You cannot play him. You cannot bring in a true point guard, in my opinion, and then have Murray as your 2, because he almost looks lost when he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, the only time that works, we've seen it work, is when he runs with the 2s. Then you have him get a break where he's a true shooting guard, and you have a Bruce Brown or a Christian, whatever, and allow him to just run around and find his shot.
Right.
But to your point, when you have a player who's ball dependent, like Murray, then you have 3 scorers. There's only 1 ball in the playoffs. Doesn't change. That's where.
Wait, are you sure about that? There's only one ball.
How many times have we talked about Harden when you look at Harden and Durant and Kyrie Irving, and it never works? It's because they can't all have the ball. And you get guys like Harden, you get guys like Luka. You see LeBron pouting this year because he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Right.
Luka is the most ball-dependent player in the league. Harden's like that. And so that's where, again, when we've talked about how do they make these pieces fit, Jamal has taken to coaching this year more than any season I've seen him with Adelman. So maybe there's some movement there that I'm not seeing right now, but that's where I worry, because Watson at his best was when Jokic was out and he was needed to go score. Well, when Jokic is back and Murray's healthy and Gordon's back, how many plays are you drawing up for Peyton Watson?
Right.
And that's where that's why I'm saying maybe on a nightly basis, you're trying to figure out who's better that night, Watson or Johnson. I think going forward, I'm 100% doing everything I can to keep Peyton Watson. He's just too young.
23.
Too young. Exactly.
23.
He's younger than most guys in college that are playing college basketball right now.
Right. All right. Coming up after the break, we have talked many times about odds makers not believing in the Broncos. So now DraftKings came out with their over-under. And when you look at the Broncos record this past season compared to what DraftKings thinks about them this season, it is eye-popping. That's next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of snowmobiles or nearly $18,000 in cash the weekend of February 20th. It's your choice what you want, the 2 snowmobiles or the cash. Earn daily entries with every locked up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back. Hot Takes with Goodman and Renck. Want to tell you about what I believe is the best barbecue spot in town. That is Smokin' Dave's, and they have locations all over the place, including where you live, which I refer to as the Boondocks. They have locations in Denver, Estes Park, Longmont, Lyons, and Greeley. It is the best place out there when it comes to barbecue. I think it is honestly one of the best restaurants in town. As I've said before about Smokin' Dave's, they take barbecue to a new level. Let me give you a good example of that. They have something called the Smokin' Meatloaf, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It is made with chorizo, sweet Italian sausage, porter beer, smoked cheddar. It's served with sauteed onions and mushrooms in a balsamic vinegar cream sauce, and you get a couple of sides with that. Usually when you go into a barbecue place, you get brisket, you get pulled pork, you get chicken wings, whatever. What they do is they elevate barbecue. That's why I think it's so good. Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. Just told you the locations, but the one in Denver is off of 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
I know what we are about to talk about is not made for our Denver audience. However, it is breaking news, and to me, this is a really sad day for the Chicago Bears. The House of Representatives in Illinois was supposed to talk today about potentially keeping the Bears in the state of Illinois and moving to Arlington Heights. I grew up about 20 minutes from there. It is now being reported by multiple outlets. The Bears are about to sign a deal to go to Hammond, Indiana. And this, I'm sorry, I grew up as a Bears fan. This is worse than getting punched in the throat. This is being curb stomped. And if you don't know what being curb stomped is, you take somebody's head, you put it on a curb with their mouth wide open, and you take your foot and you just bang it on the back of their head. That is being curb stomped. And I cannot imagine how Bears fans feel right now. And oh, by the way, that drive is going to stink on the Dan Ryan.
I mean, are they going to call them the Indiana Bears?
No.
We already have
Listen.
the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, it's the New York Giants and the New York Jets. It's right across the river in New Jersey. So there is precedent.
How far over into Indiana from Illinois, or from how far from Chicago would they be in Indiana?
I don't have it in front of me. I mean, I can look it up, but listen, I went to Indiana, so I had to make that drive on 65. On Interstate 65. I'll look it up right now, but for those that live on the North Shore of Chicago, that is one hell of a drive. How the Bears could fuck this up so breathtakingly is unbelievable to me.
I mean, it's just so pretty where they're at now. I mean, the stadium got weird when they kind of renovated it. It was like trying to put a spaceship casing around an old
That looks like a joke too.
Yeah, like a Roman Colosseum with a spaceship top to it. But it's still the setting with the sky when you look back toward Miracle Mile. I mean, it's one of the coolest settings when the clouds and the water's off to this. I mean, but you grew up in the Chicago politics, trying to get stuff paid for. That's why when people come down on the Pinners, like, I get it, but they are essentially paying for the stadium. Are they getting a bunch of breaks involved in that? Of course they are. But this is what happens when an ownership doesn't have real money. They go with their hand out to say, give us money, build us a stadium. And all these cities, including in Kansas City, they like, no, we're not going to do it. And so now you're going to have the Chiefs in Missouri and you're going to have the Bears in Indiana.
Well, so I looked it up because I've made the drive. I didn't want to just throw out how long the drive was from Chicago. It's 30 miles, which is about a 36-minute drive from Chicago. If you live on the North Shore of Chicago with traffic on the Kennedy and the Edens and so on and so forth, just to get to downtown Chicago, if you're driving to a Bears game from the North Shore of Chicago, clearly I sound like a guy who is skewing it because that's where I grew up. But I'll be honest with you, when you look at the wealth of the Chicago suburbs, it is the North Shore of Chicago. It is Northbrook and Glenview and Deerfield and Lake Forest and Winnetka. That is the North Shore of Chicago. That's where Northwestern is, in Evanston. You got an hour to an hour and 15-minute drive out there just to go to a game.
Yeah. I mean, like when the Braves moved their stadium in Atlanta, they did it closer to Tennessee to get the money coming from Tennessee because they wanted out of downtown. So I didn't like it, but I understood it. Like they're moving to where they think more of the money's coming from. This Bears thing, to your point, has been mismanaged for how many years now? It feels like it's been going on in public for like 3 years now. Just constant plan, new plan. And then this Indiana thing came up and they've introduced this Indiana.
We just lost you, Troy. We just lost your mic. Might want to try it again. Give me a test. There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. My mic got confused. They had this thing going on for like 2-3 years, and then they announced another like Indiana thing after one of their biggest wins. I think it was after that Packers game.
Yeah,
it was just what a mess. It just pisses me off sometimes, the arrogance of owners when they try to hold cities and municipalities hostage with hands out. When you're dealing with billion dollar business, here, give us a handout or we're moving. I hate it. And to move, you would know better than me. I didn't grow up there. I've been to Chicago a million times. How much of it though is the identity of Chicagoans to then have their team playing in Indiana? I cannot think that's going to go over well. I don't care if it's 2 miles over the border. Every time I've been to Chicago, people let you know they're from Chicago. I just can't think they're going to embrace, I don't care what that facility looks like, that they're going to embrace the idea of their team playing in the state of Indiana.
It is devastating because it is a Bears town for sure. And even when Michael Jordan was playing and the Bulls were the Bulls with Michael Jordan, I get it. But make no mistake about it. It is a Bears town. Where Soldier Field is located, it's tough enough to get to.
Yeah, parking there's a disaster.
And it's more than just parking, because you got to go along Lakeshore Drive. And if you want to take, not 94, you got to snake all the way over. That's not easy either. Going out to Arlington Heights, that's not, you can make the case you could take 294. That's probably the easiest way to get out there, but then you still have to get to Arlington Heights. It is, I cannot even imagine how pissed off Bears fans are and what talk radio in Chicago is going, what they are saying out there. Listen, the McCaskies are not a well-liked family anyway.
Yeah, it's not like they have a bunch of success over the last 30 years.
And now this is their legacy, because the McCaskey family is the George Halas family. And I can't even imagine what George Halas would be thinking right now if he were alive. The Bears started at Wrigley Field. Then they had Soldier Field. And to your point, the way that they reconstructed it, it looked like a fucking joke, that spaceship type of thing. And now they're finally good, and they have a good product. They finally have their quarterback, and they're moving to Hammond, Indiana. And as I just told you, from Chicago, it's still a 36-mile drive. If you live in Naperville, yeah, it might be easier to get to, which is far west. But the North Shore people out there, it's going to be, with traffic, it's going to be an hour-plus drive to an hour and a half just to get out there.
Well, to localize this story, this is why I knew from, before you could report it, why the Penners were going to stay in downtown Denver. It's the Denver Broncos. It's not the Highlands Ranch Broncos. It's not the Aurora Broncos. They were determined. Now, the biggest thing they're going to deal with down there is parking. It's going to look a lot different than the tailgating that's available now. But I think that's, again, I say that, and I get there really early for games. I'm not a tailgater, but I would rather the parking be the biggest issue than it being next to the airport or in Highlands Ranch. I love the fact that the Denver Broncos play in the city of Denver. Yeah. And it was a legacy play. To your point, the Walton Penner Group, did not want their legacy be, we're the one that moved the Broncos to the airport, or we moved them to Highlands Ranch. I know that.
The truth is, the McCaskey family is similar to Bolin. Bolin didn't have great wealth because of another business.
Right. And it's hard then. It is.
And it's the same thing with the McCaskey family. It's not like the Penners, who had a lot of money, and the Waltons coming into it where they didn't have to ask for any help. For them, they are trying to run a family business, and they have to take the best deal. But the problem is that the Bears are a legacy franchise like the Packers, two of the most storied franchises in NFL history. I mean, look at the guy who started the fucking league. It was George Halas.
They are a civic institution, and this is what pisses me off. If you can't afford it, sell. It becomes selfish when you can't play with the modern owners of the Mark Walters that owns the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Walton Penner. That is the new ownership group. If you don't have that money and you've had your 40-year run, sell the damn team, because it becomes selfish, because you want the best deal for what? Your family and the franchise valuation. So when you ultimately sell it, every one of your kids gets $500 million each. It's just selfish. Sell the damn team, take your money, and get season tickets. That's what pisses me off. They act like they have no choice. You do have a choice, Eric. If my life changed completely and I couldn't afford, I'd have to sell my house. I can't live in this neighborhood. They just never concede. No, we're going to be owners until our last grandkid dies. Right. Screw that. Sell the team. Right. Sell the team and give it to someone who can afford it. That's what gets me riled up about it. They act like they have no other option. You do. Put it up for sale. And
oh, by the way, the headquarters are in Lake Forest, where a lot of players live on the North Shore of Chicago.
They're going to love that drive.
Way up there. And that, to your point, that is one hell of a drive. The Broncos moving a Lone Tree is a nothing burger compared to what the Bears have just done. shame on them when we, get off the show. I'm going to call some friends of mine who are huge Bears fans.
You better
And
hold
I
the,
can't
hold the
even
phone like this. Hold it
Yeah, I
way
can't
up.
even imagine what they're going to say. When Indiana first came up, I'm thinking they're not going to do that.
I agree.
They have Arlington Heights where the racetrack is. They will find a way to make it happen up there. And the city people who are Chicagoans were upset enough about moving to Arlington Heights. Now they're going to go to the state of Indiana. I mean, people from Chicago look at Indiana as a shithole. Gary, Indiana.
That's what I'm
Hammond,
saying. Like
Indiana.
it's just the optics of just saying Indiana drives people in Chicago crazy. And now you're going to put their football team there?
Well, no.
Their pride and joy?
People in Chicago look at Indiana as a nothing.
Right.
You are nothing more than flat land with nothing going on. And, you drive to Gary, Indiana, you're like, oh my God, thank God we don't live there. And now they're going to Hammond. This to me rocks Chicago. It rocks the NFL. I don't think owners have to approve the Bears move. They can move wherever they want to, but I'm sure there are plenty of owners who are sick about this as well.
Yeah, it's just a terrible look. It's just, again, if you can't afford to do business in the current business model, let somebody who can, because this is just, it smacks of selfishness, petty politics. And it comes down to, we'll show you who wins in this. Who's the winner in this?
Right.
You get a nice new stadium that everyone's pissed to have to go to. That's the winning. That's your win. I just stop.
Well, on that positive note, that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. By the way, we will talk about those DraftKings odds tomorrow, because to me, I think this was worth bringing up. I mean, if we're talking about, I don't know, Jacksonville and they're moving someplace else, sorry, that's one thing. It's the Chicago Bears, and I am sure up there in the sky, Walter Payton is thinking, hey, McCaskies, what the fuck are you doing?
What a mess.
Make it the best possible day you can.